I now invite Chief Leanne Fitch of the Fredericton Police Force to deliver the remembrance for our fallen members and a special message on behalf of the Fredericton Police Force. J'inviterai maintenant Chef Leanne Fitch de la Force policière de Fredericton à rappeler le souvenir de nos collègues qui ont perdu la vie et à transmettre un message spécial au nom de la Force policière de Fredericton.
Your Honors, Ambassadors, Senators, federal, provincial, and municipal officials, Chief Polchis, peace officers and first responders, members of my own force, friends, and families of the fallen members. Welcome, bienvenue, et tonguk. I've been asked by so many times over this past week where I find the strength to stand before the community and our country to speak about the terrible murders of 4 of our citizens, 2 of who were my officers. The horrible violence that took the lives of Constable Sara Burns and Constable Robb Costello, Bobby Lee Wright, and Donnie Adam Robichaud has shaken us all to the core here at home and across our country. Fredericton, with its 60,000 citizens, is small. As city employees, we've worked together for years with our firefighters and our comm ops, our recreation people. The list is long. Our police department, your police department, was made up of 105 officers, 20 civilian support staff, and 45 volunteers, including our auxiliary, one of which was Stephen Burns. Municipal policing in this capital city along the Woolawostock St. John River is one of a kind and one of the oldest in Canada. We are a close policing family and we are close with our community. When we sign up to serve and protect our city, we are committing our entire life's work to this service. And as of Friday, that service cost 2 of our police officers their lives. Robb and Sara had large families and many friends. Their connections are everywhere. Their deaths have created a ripple effect that stretches out as far as the ocean is deep. I'm here today with you to honor their lives and in hopes that they have found light through the darkness of their death. Je me présente devant vous afin d'honorer des parts du veille humain. Souhaitons que Sara et Robb ont trouvé la lumière malgré cette tragédie. I do this with the strength and courage because we ask for that courage from our officers every day and night that they lace up their boots and put on their body armor and duty belts and put on their badge and go to work to serve and protect our community. On Friday, August 10th, 2018, shortly after 0700 hours, during shift change, Robb and Sara drove courageously to a call of shots fired. They arrived on scene to find the bodies of Bobby Lee and Donnie on the ground. And in their effort to help those already fallen, they gave their lives in a final, selfless act of bravery. Many other of our officers responded from our Queen Street headquarters, courageously taking action in and around the hot zone in the midst of an ambush, with a mission in mind to rescue those shot and to rescue others who were trapped in harm's way. So where do I get the courage? Speaking is both the least and the most I can offer right now. I can only do this through the strength of God and with your support and your prayers and your compassion. But now more than ever, We all need to continue to muster the courage and preparation for all of our tomorrows. We know that both Sara and Robb are positive to the core of their beings. We know their families want this message to be one of optimism. Despite our anger or fear at this dark time, the only way forward is through the same light of hope and compassion and love that Robb and Sara exuded for us every day. This is not the time for anger. This is the time when we have to become better and not bitter. L'heure ne suture pas à la couleur, mais bien à la réflexion et la consolation. Soyons tous humains. Anyone who knew Robb and Sara personally or professionally knows that they were the type of people who exemplified all that was good, tender, and joyful. They were dedicated and passionate about policing and so immensely proud to be members of our police force. You're going to find a lot of common messages, I think, after listening to everybody else and having last word. We really didn't get together and plan our scripts and what we were going to say, but I think that just means that you know how genuine all of these words are because you're hearing the same thing over and over again. That wasn't on my page. Robb Costello. Robb loved his dear Jackie, who gave him so much love in return. He adored his daughters, Cassie and Caitlin, and was a role model and a constant comfort, but I'm told sometimes a pest, to his stepchildren, Zach and Katie. As an only child, he loved his mother, Dolores, and had a large extended family. No mother should ever have to bury their child, and no children should ever lose a parent at such tender ages. Robb joined the Fredericton Police Force in 1998. Immediately after graduating from the Atlanta Police Academy. And that year, I had the good fortune of being Robb's primary field trainer. And I worked with him during his first stint on the job. Being a coach officer or a training officer is a special honor because it is during that time that special bonds are created and an officer's first impressions are made. I am so proud that Robb went on to become a use of force trainer, a fire range officer, a coach officer, an instructor for tactical communication and verbal de-escalation. It always warmed my heart to see him smile and to know that he loved his job. He loved being a police officer, and he knew that I knew he was a good man. I always made a point of telling him so. Robb wasn't even given the chance to use the full extent of his character and his skills last Friday, and yet there isn't a doubt in my mind that he went into that situation willingly and bravely to his last call, which was the first call of his day. He died a hero's death. Sara Burns. Sara leaves behind the love of her life, her husband Stephen, and their sons Duncan and Malcolm and Anderson, parents Marjorie and David, brother Rory, sister Emma, and her extended family, and her very beloved puppies, Murphy and Coco, and her horse Grimsby, which you saw today in parade. Sara started with the Fredericton Police Force as an auxiliary officer in 2013, and prior to that, Sara was a stay-at-home mom for over 14 years as she raised those beautiful, beautiful boys. They were her 3 shining stars of her life. At the age of 40, she decided to fulfill her lifelong dream and become a police officer, and she was hired shortly after graduating from the Atlanta Police Academy. She was considered among our finest of new officers with a bright future to match her beautiful, bright personality, enthusiasm, and joy that she had for life. I know how excited she was when she started on the auxiliary. Her determination to become a full-time officer was inspirational to all of us. Her smile could indeed bring a smile everywhere she went. She was so proud of being a Fredericton police officer, and she loved her policing family. Sara had a very special ability to calm people down and to de-escalate a crisis. And yet, like Robb, she didn't get a chance to use her gifts before being ambushed on her last call of her night shift, before she went home. I always felt that our police department and our city were better because of her, and that things would be okay in the years ahead. I don't think Sara knew how proud I was of her, and I'm heartsick to be too late in saying so. She died a hero's death. As Canadian police officers, I can say with certainty that Robb and Sara were proud to serve in a democratic and just society, with all the fortunes and freedoms it affords. Sara and Robb served in their role with tremendous honor and courage and compassion and integrity as they upheld our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and their oath of office for all peoples equally. They didn't have a mean bone in their body. Just ask the people in our city, and they will tell you. Being a police officer in Canada is being a peace officer everywhere. And it was their wanting and working for peace that I will remember the most. This past week has been spent with families of Robb and Sara, with my members and their families, clergy, and countless others trying to make sense of the utterly senseless. How could we collectively as a society, as families and law enforcement agencies, miss this tragedy in the making? The same questions have been asked elsewhere during tragic times across this country, and most closely to home in Kodiak in 2014, when we lost our comrades with the RCMP to such violence. We all want the answers, and I know it's hard to be patient. It leaves many people wondering what to do next. In 2012, as an acting police chief, wise words were once spoken to me by John Cathcart, our former police chaplain before he moved away. I sought out his advice during a particularly difficult time. And he said, "Leanne, just let your light shine. Just let it shine." And when you rest on those 5 small words and spend some time reflecting on what it really means, you come to understand that by letting that light shine, that is the best that you can do. Let the light of our community shine on our sorrow and dry up our tears. Let your light shine upon each other and on those who are lost and searching and in need of help. Robb and Sara would not want us lost in the dark. They didn't want anyone to suffer alone in the dark or to be left out in the cold. The most we could do at this moment and in our tomorrows is to shine on our light and on our light for good in honor of their memory and everything that they stood for. We know that this past week is weaving us into a stronger, tighter community. We saw it in the hearts and hands across the city and with the hashtag Fredericton Strong. We can all see and feel it happening. As we try to reconcile the overwhelming and conflicting emotions of grief and gratitude, my hope for all of us and for Robb and Sara is that the weaving will result in a stronger fabric where the blue thread of law enforcement is sewn throughout and around and within our community, because none of us can do this alone. My words just feel so inadequate, and it's the hardest thing I've ever had to write, and Steve, I just can't imagine. Jackie, I'm so sorry. And while I'm trying to bring courage and hope to everyone, in my heart of hearts, when I look around, all I can see is the faces of my officers and their support workers, their families, and the dear families of Robb and Sara. To my officers who responded on scene and helped to rescue our citizens and neutralize the threat, who relied on your training and your calm and your skill, only you really know how many lives you saved that day, including the lives of more of your colleagues. Of all my words, I just really need you, sitting right here in front of me today, to know how proud I am to be your chief, and how my heart is broken with you and for you. You save lives every day in so many ways when you put on that badge and head out onto our streets. I need you to hear my voice and that of your community and that of your country when I say you are all heroes, you are all brave, and I know that you set about to do your best every time you walk in and out of the doors of headquarters. To my senior command staff, and those of you who are specially sought out to stay on the clock with us and to support Robb and Sarah's family and our members over this past 8 days, I have never been more honored to serve and to lead in my life. I could not ask for more. We will never be the same. We will be changed, and some of us will grieve longer and harder and struggle more, but that is when we turn towards one another, not away from one another, and not on one another. That is the last thing that Robb and Sara would want. To the 911 dispatchers and firefighters and EMS, my dear sweet colleagues at MB Chiefs, and all of their 9 municipal police departments and the RCMP, mental health professionals and funeral homes, to our city family and to the whole of our community, we could not have managed this past 8 days without you. Our department and our families are so grateful for the outpouring of support from the law enforcement community, from citizens, and from Canadians. Notre force policière et nos familles sont si reconnaissantes de l'appui inconditionnel de tous les autres agents de la paix, des citoyens et des Canadiens. You have all been there for us, and we will continue to be there for you, even in our quietest moments. On behalf of our force, I thank you. Merci beaucoup et waliwan. Lastly, to the 2 families of our fallen officers, you need to know that your Sara and your Robb were our Sara and our Robb too, and they will live forever in your hearts and in ours. They gave their life selflessly as heroes. They went bravely into harm's way to protect others, and they served their very best to their last breath. 87306, Constable Costello and Constable Burns, 10-7 for shift. Sara and Robb, rest easy. God bless. We've got it from here.